Welcome back, everyone, to the Unarmored Talk podcast. I'm your host, Mario P. Fields. As we rapidly approach the 4-year mark in running, I appreciate all of you guys who listen to me on audio or get on my YouTube channel and watch. Remember, every time you share, watch, like, whatever you do, leave a comment or just, I don't know, cut the grass and listen to me. It's all for charity. So every download, every video you watch, it's all for charity and it's all donated to Still Serving Incorporated. Again, another school year is coming up. So continue to share, watch, like, do what you got to do to generate money for the next generation of professionals. You want to learn more? Go to www.stillservinginc.com. So you guys know the deal. I got another guest on the show who's willing to remove their armor. Let's go behind the scenes. Let's have some discussions without sappy plates for you Marine sailors, all you guys out there wearing that combat armor. Let's take it off. I got active duty Staff Sergeant Meech Speaks, but his real name is Demetrius Thigpen. He is an inspirational speaker, motivational speaker. He's on the toughest duty in the Marine Corps, recruiting. That's why I chose the drill field.
Yeah.
And he's doing more. What's up, man?
What's going on, everybody? It's that ordinary podcaster with the extraordinary thoughts that tells you to stop being great and be extraordinary. I'm Demetrius Thigpen, also known as Meech Speaks. Good to be here, Mario. Definitely really good to be here.
Yeah, man. What people don't realize, and you reminded me the other day, is we actually, not directly, but met in Southern Cal about 2019, almost 5 years ago, when I was
Mm-hmm.
a guest speaker for his ball, and that was cool, man.
Yeah, what's so crazy is how small the Marine Corps is, and then just how small like the content creating space is in
Yeah.
general. Because once you never realize, because I remember seeing you, and I remember sitting there, and I was just like, dang man, like I'm trying to figure out exactly where I actually met him from, and I could not put it, I couldn't pinpoint it, and then I was like this, 2019, it was at that ball, it was at that ball.
That ball was off the chain. That ball. But hey, before we get into today's discussion, y'all got to check out Meech Speaks Instagram, his TikTok, his podcast. It's on Apple. It's on all your listening streams, your mama stream, your daddy stream. If you want to make up an audio stream, you can find the Talkin Crazy Podcast, host and producer right in front of you, and more. Can you tell the listeners and viewers just a little bit about yourself before we get into this discussion, man?
Absolutely. So to really sum it up, I'm just a shitbag Marine that's transitioned to becoming a top tier performer. I started off, I had trouble in the military very early on, born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Mario, the hardest part for me was never like PT, it was never the job. It was transitioning coming from Detroit, Michigan
Mm.
into the military. That was where my friction points were always at because it was just changing a mindset. And as I gradually grew in the military, that's when I transitioned into being the person that I am today, like that top tier performer that everybody always says. And I ended up getting into content creating based off of that, so that was just a little bit about me.
Yeah. Well, see, you should have moved to Pontiac. See.
Nah, God, nah. Oh, also, I'm a published author too. I always leave that part out. Like people always like, why don't you tell people that you're an author? And I'm like, this to be honest with you, I be forgetting that I am an author.
Yeah. Well, again, if you would have moved to everybody, I'm from Pontiac in Auburn Hills, Michigan. So Pontiac is about 45, 50 miles north of Detroit. It's called a Yak Town in the D. But you see, if you would have moved to Pontiac, it would the transition would have been easy.
Transition would have been a lot easier for me. I tell you, that's exactly what the problem was. It never was one of those moments where it's like, oh, I just can't do the military, or oh, like the PTs. I'm
Yeah.
just honestly just trying to like process, like, how am I supposed to let a lot of this slide?
Right.
When like somebody chewing your ass, I ain't grew up in a situation where people just casually just saying whatever they want to say to me and I'm just letting it go.
Right.
And I'm sitting back and I'm just like, dang, man, like, how am I gonna be able to just do this? And that's why I always say, thank God for good leadership. You know what I mean? Thank God for
Yeah.
good leadership because I had good leaders pull me off to the side. And I never forget it. Sarin Kanzieli, he pulls me off to the side and he says, you are going to blow the biggest chance that you have ever had in your life. And the sad part about this is that you probably have the most potential out of everybody here. And that
Yeah.
set with me. that really sat with me because I was just like, dang, man, like, I mean, I don't know how to not blow it. You know what I mean? Like when people tell you, like, hey, you're gonna blow a chance. Well, I don't know what I'm doing to not blow it. So he really made me look at myself and like get my shit together.
He was like, "Look, man, look, it's a 4x100 relay, dog, and you the slowest one on the team. I thought I was running fast, man. Let's watch tape. Yeah, you slow as hell. But
Hmm.
so let's get into. I've been following you, man, for a minute, and I love what you're doing. Like you and I talked about before the show. When I started in 2018, I was like by myself.
Yeah.
I didn't really have no one. No one had YouTube channel. Everyone's looking at me.
Hmm.
Hey, sorry, maybe what the hell you doing? But it's cool down 6 years later to just watching the bleachers. And I love your content. I love how authentic you are. But what I haven't seen, D, right, Demetrius, what I have not seen is anyone interview you on how did it all begin. So let's remove the armor. Man, how the
Absolutely.
hell did you get into content creation and podcasting?
To be honest with you, I never really thought of myself as like a content creator or ever wanted to get into podcasting. I'll say that when I was a kid, I wanted to be on the radio. You remember Coco and Foolish on the radio? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I grew up listening to them, and I used to always sit back and say, like, dang, that would be cool, but it was never like a dream. I
Mm,
grew up listening to the Steve Harvey morning show, still
right.
listen to the Steve Harvey morning show, but it was never really a dream of mine, but I was always a fan of it. But to really answer the question, like, how did I end up in content creating and podcasting? I started off trying to be a motivational speaker. I'm a martial arts instructor trainer. I've been a martial arts instructor trainer since 2014. So now it's about 10 years. And I've kicked tie ins. And one day, to really peel it all back, one day I'm walking down to the shop. Now, mind you, though, please be advised, I was a sergeant when I started creating content. I was a line sergeant. Okay. Now, a lot of people don't understand. I used to be in them trenches. Okay. I used to be ensuring there was good order and
And you was
discipline.
hustling. Yeah, you was
You
hustling, dog.
know,
It was 2 hours of sleep a night.
I've always been like, top tier performer. So I get a
Yeah.
call from the company. They say, hey, Thigpen, Sergeant Major, I want to see you. I'm like this. Okay, you want to go to battalion? They say, no, she at the company. I said, okay, what I do? I'm thinking that a Marine done said that I did something, because once again, good order and discipline, Mario, has to be established.
Right.
So I'm heading up there. And she says, hey, Thigpen, you're going to be speaking at this Lance Corporal seminar. I'm like, what you want me to say to them, Sergeant Major? Good job. So she say, no, I want you to be the guest speaker. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So I go to the Landscape seminar. Mind you, still a line sergeant, still a line NCO. Got a little chip on his shoulder. They shaking my hands. I'm critiquing the handshakes. And yeah, I was out of control
Wait,
back
wait,
then. I
hold
was
on.
out.
Hold on, man. You analyzing the handshake? What are you looking at? Eye contact and
Yeah,
nonverbal?
you gonna shake my hand, shake my hand like you got some sense. Like you shaking my hand like I'm like, nah, man, like shake my hand, and look me in the eyes,
Put me on light duty.
you know.
Yeah.
So I kick a tie in at the very end. They say, all right, Thigpen, you're good. Go ahead and kick this tie in. So I kick a tie in. And as I'm doing the tie in, you ever heard that the story about the dollar? Like if I crumble it, if I step on it, the value never changes. What if I rip it up? The value never changes. Well, I did that tie in. And after I was done, everybody comes up to me and say, Thigpen, like, that was real good. And I've never really been good at essentially taking compliments. I've never really been good. I've been good at handling criticism, but I'm not really good at handling compliments.
Mm.
And after a while, it becomes very overwhelming when people are saying like, "Hey, good job, good job, good job," and I'm just like, "Okay." But then this Marine, she pulls me off to the side and she's like, Sergeant Thigpen. And she just starts crying, like crying, Mario. I'm talking about like really. And I'm looking, I'm like, the heck is you crying about? And she's like, what you said up there, when you talked about that dollar was me. You
Yeah.
know, I feel like I've lost my value, because at the time she was on
Wow.
light duty, she was pregnant, so she felt like, how we treat light duty Marines in the military. And she felt like because she was not an asset to the organization that her value had decreased. And she was crying. And I had to reassure her. I was like, ma'am, like, your value ain't decreased just like what I talked about, So I ended up leaving. And as I was leaving, something in the back of my mind was like, dang, you might have a talent in this. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, speaking? I might be a professional speaker. So I did the best that I could. I started Googling people. I was like, Eric Thomas, Inky Johnson. I started looking at these people. Literally a week later, I get another call, and it's San Marcos College. And they say, hey, we want you to come out and speak. But the problem is that we need E8s and we need E9s because it's one of those like successful core how do you say, like a successful conference, so everybody there's got bachelors, they got doctorates, so a sergeant there shouldn't be there. And I remember calling the guy and I said,
Drink,
look,
drinking water that was specially shipped in. You know what I mean? Got
yes, yes.
executive ice cubes.
And they had all the high schools there. They had Vista, they had El Camino, they had Oceanside, they had a couple of other high schools within the area. So the place is packed. And once again, everybody that's on this platform are very successful gentlemen,
Mm.
doctors, lawyers, business owners. Nothing less than a master's degree is on this stage. Let me rephrase that. Nothing less besides me, who dropped out of college a long time ago. And I remember calling my aunt, telling her, like, I don't think I'm supposed to be up here. Like, I don't think I'm supposed to be up here. And she said, just because they're educated don't mean that they're better than you.
Right.
Okay. You supposed to be up there for a reason. So the guy goes up, I go last. And mind you, when I go last, I'm going last. And I get up there. And Mario, when I tell you I start speaking and I can see my words dancing in the crowd, like people just picking them up. Like you could see when the message hit each person. And as I get done, I get a standing ovation. People come up to me once again. They telling me how good I'm doing. Teachers coming up to me. They like, that's probably the best thing that I've ever heard. And I leave. I immediately leave. I don't say bye. I don't do anything. I said I'll follow up with everybody because I'm getting overwhelmed again. I'm getting really, really overwhelmed. And I just leave. And this time I get to the car and I smoke a cigarette and I'm like, and I just start crying myself. Like I just started
Wow.
crying. And for the first time, and I didn't realize it, but the reason why I kept getting overwhelmed is because that was the first time I actually ever really felt alive in the military.
Mm.
You know, it's one of those moments when it's like you find your purpose. And when
Right.
you finally find your purpose, it's that moment where you finally can come to life. And I'm talking about I've been deployed. I done blasted Marines. I've been blasted. I've led McMap. I've run MAI courses. I've done all of these things, but I never truly felt alive. Like I just felt like I was just doing a job. And for the first time, I felt alive. And
Wow.
I
So
was like, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, you're good. No, no, good. Keep going because this is good, man.
Oh yeah. And I was like, I remember sitting there saying to myself, like, this is your purpose. Like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And the moment that I found that, I was like, okay, so well, how can I do it again? You know? And we talked about it earlier, but the thing is that trying to be a speaker is like trying to be a rapper.
And that's
You
what I was,
gotta,
and that's what I was going to ask you is here you are. The thing about it is, I'm glad you brought this up. I'm a retired sergeant major. People know that. Some people don't. Who cares? But a lot of folks, though, the sergeant major calls for you. Oh, snap, you're in trouble. Sergeant major, it's not always you're in trouble. And here it is. It's a false belief, everybody. And I love how the sergeant major saw talent in you. And,
mm-hmm,
and the sergeant major, just like the sergeant, they saw things that you can't see.
mm-hmm,
Okay. It's called professional blind spots. People can see talent where you can't see it, and they saw it. And then they have the courage to go to these events, especially the one where there's no connection between you and the audience, if you will. You know,
yes.
Uh, everyone's sitting there again drinking water that costs $1.2 trillion. And ladies and gentlemen, our keynote speaker that's going to close us out is, Demetrius Thigpen. Who is this guy?
Yeah.
You know, he got a GED. What? Nah, but you see what I'm saying. But now let's go to the next part of this discussion. From my basic understanding, now you have this motivation, you have this inspiration, you found your purpose, you're feeling good about yourself, you feel good, the emotions of
Mm-hmm.
alive. Have you had anyone reject your offer to come on the show?
Now, see, and that's the problem is that when you trying to make it into becoming a speaker, it's one of those things where it's like everybody's like, yeah, we'd love to have a motivational speaker, but they real picky and choosy. I'm
Mm,
great. I'm a martial arts instructor trainer. I done spoke, and nobody wants to hire me. They don't want to book me for a show. They don't want me to speak at they ceremonies, and I'm just like, what do I do? And then they said, well, if you're having trouble getting on getting gigs, then get on shows. And I'm like, all right, well, find it. I'll get on a couple of podcasts. I'm pretty sure people will be lining up for me. Absolutely not. I'm getting my messages left on red. I'm getting my emails, they declining. And I'm gonna tell you right now, these podcasters at the time were just real, like, oh, well, you gotta have this, and what does my audience? And I'm like, all right, you know
oh
what? Fine then. If I can't get on it, then I'll make my own. And that's
my man.
exactly what I did. I made my first podcast, which was called Motivation for the Wandering Soul.
Mm,
And when I know real chicken noodle soupish, I thought it'd be a good name. It was not. So then we changed it to Extraordinary Thoughts for the Ordinary Mind. And I ran with Extraordinary Thoughts for the Ordinary Mind for about like 2 years as the name. And what I didn't know is that it wasn't necessarily speaking, like motivational speaking. Don't get me wrong, I've done that, but it was
right.
podcasting that really was where I was supposed to be going.
Mm.
And I've being able to be a podcaster, I've really just been able to reach so many people that I never thought. And the crazy part is that people will come up to me and be like, yo, I listen to your show, or I follow you on Instagram, and I love your content. And to be honest with you, to your very first question, how did I get into it? I got into it because I tried to be a motivational speaker. And it turned out that podcasting was something that I was actually really good at. And I
Wow.
never intended to be a podcaster, let alone a content creator. I just wanted to be on stage.
And now you are the virtual stage is powerful.
It
It's a
is.
stage, and I mean, Instagram 14,000 plus. I mean, and that's just the followers. Your content is going all over the place. I mean, you've inspired. I mean, look at us. If you weren't a podcaster, we wouldn't have connected like this. And
Mhm.
so, as fellow podcasters, and so I'm gonna make you uncomfortable because I know you already mentioned earlier you don't like. Well, you got to get used to getting compliments. But I tell you, one of my most favorite videos you just produced, as I told you I was going to wait to the show, is the one you produced on June the 1st on your Instagram account when y'all had the bag in the parking garage. Hey, everybody, listeners and viewers, if y'all need to get on Meech Speaks, get on his Instagram, check out that video, June the 1st. Man, I like that, man. Y'all got to make sure, hey, is the product good? Yeah, we got Marine Corps flyers, strength and honor. Let me check the bag. No conversation. Yeah.
Oh, that's not me. That's Peasy.
No, but you dropped it on your channel though.
Yeah. Peasy had collaborated with me.
I know you did. There's a collabo.
Yeah. I liked it too. I thought it was one of the I liked that video. It was definitely very how do you say, like, paid in full.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like
I
paid
like
in
that
full.
collabo, man. That was yeah. You dropped it on your Instagram, but it was a collaboration. But y'all, I like that. One of my favorites. The other one of my favorites. Now, let me stop because I'm gonna make you blush. And we got permanent tans here. But so the other thing I want to ask you is, was there any time during this journey where people looked at you and said, "What the hell are you doing? Why are you doing? You're on active duty. You're recruiting now. Why don't you just give it up?"
A couple of times, when I very first started, people, one thing that people are real good at, they ain't gonna say a lot of things to me face to face. Like
Yeah.
before I was Meech Speaks, like, yeah, think about it, Mario. I was a whole thug out here. Like a lot of people always see me like all motivational and positive and stuff like that, and forget that I was in the trenches at one point, acting a fool. And
Yeah.
and I slowly got my stuff together. I slowly got my shit together. But as far as like people that did not believe in me in the very beginning, like I couldn't get a share, I couldn't get a like.
Wow.
It was a lot of people that just did not see what I was doing. And I remember one of the biggest times where it kind of like stood out and it kind of like really irritated me. It wasn't necessarily like a family friend or anything. I ended up getting pulled into this coaching program. And the two people that were running the coaching program, they went to Eric Thomas's overall coaching program.
Yeah.
and made them certified speakers. And I'm just like, all right, whatever. So they reach out to me and they say, like, hey, we're going to be doing this coaching thing for speakers and content creators, so we would love to get you on so that way we can share what we learned from Eric Thomas. And I'm like, all right, bet. So I end up on the show. I mean, well, not the show, but I end up in the course. And you can already tell, and this is something I've learned, is that toxic leadership isn't a military exclusive thing. Toxic leadership is something that is very prevalent across
Mhm.
the board when you put a person in power that should not be in power. And here I am on this thing, and and it's very apparent that the jealousy of what I'm already doing
Right.
is starting to come out. And it was one of the guys, and then actually it was both the coaches, but it was one coach in particular. I'm talking about like you pick and choose the things that you want to say to me and not want to say to me. And I'm just trying to be coachable. I'm just trying to be coachable. He's looking at my following and he's like, you got 4,000 followers, but you got $4,000 in the bank account. And I'm like, I got more. I got more. Like, but what does that have to do with coaching? Like, what does that have to do with coaching? And they kept telling me, like, you're not a podcaster. You're not a podcaster. You're a speaker. You're a speaker. And you need to change your name so that way it reflects the fact that you're a speaker. But they would tell me to do things that just weren't necessarily aligning with my brand. And I just really want to just stop for a second because you can't have somebody proofread the message that God gave you. He
Amen.
gave it to you for a reason. And I learned that the hard way. When you try to have somebody else tell you what you're supposed to be doing, you always going to end up doing things not that you don't want to do, but what they want to do.
Right.
And at the time, my Instagram name was Extraordinary Podcaster. And it was like, see, how are you a speaker, but you talk about, being an extraordinary podcaster? How are you a speaker, but when we see you online, you wearing a beanie and stuff like that? And I'm just like, what does this have to do? He's like, you look like you sell drugs. And I'm like, I look like I sell drugs. Okay, whatever, dude. And yeah, it was out of control. So then he said, you need to change your name. You need to change your name so that way it fits. And I was like, all right, well, what would a speaker's name be? And at the time, one of them, their name was also Speaks. So it was so and so Speaks. And then there was the other guy, he was so and so, and then he had Speaks in his. And I was like, all right, well, fine. My name's Meech Speaks, since that's all I'm doing right now is talking. I ain't doing nobody's pull ups. I ain't doing nobody's running. I ain't doing nobody's exercises. I'm just Meech speaking. And it stuck. Unfortunately, it stuck, and everybody liked it. And then I became Meech Speaks.
He said, unfortunately, and now it's a brand. This is amazing. Yeah, that's why I love you know this. You're a fellow podcaster. That's why I love podcasting. Because you learn so much. And your journey kind of reminds me of Oprah. When Oprah got fired. Oprah had a vision of being an anchor in the news or whatever, a news anchor for a news
Mhm.
media show, channel, whatever. And she got fired. And then when she got fired, that put her in her purpose and passion. The same with you. You're like, I know this is what I want to do. This boom. And then now look, boom. Like you said, there's your plan, and then there's God's plans. And normally they just don't align. And the thing I love about this, I'm not going to hold it too much longer because you're out there in the West Coast inspiring and motivating people, and I don't want to be a selfish host here. Looking back, you had many of times, I believe, that you could have said, I'm done.
Mhm.
You have envious people. You have, like you said, you have things that you're dealing with internally. Um, but you kept going, which was a choice. You got through your emotions. If looking back, what do you believe is what drove you, the motivating factor that made you say, nope, I'm going to keep going with this?
The funniest thing about all of my content, is that it was never made for a particular person. I didn't have a target audience in mind. The only person that I had in mind when I made everything was myself. That was really it. I didn't
Wow.
make content for people. I didn't make content for Marines. I made content for Sergeant Thigpen at the time. I made content for Demetrius Thigpen at the time. I made content for Staff Sergeant Thigpen at the time. And the reason why is because I felt like I felt like I was always stressed out. I felt like I always was anxious. I felt like I was always not good enough. And I would make videos reflect or echoing what my thoughts about
Mm,
myself were. And it just so happened that a lot of what I was saying was things that a lot of people within our community were already feeling. So I ended up just making videos. So it ended up being videos that started off for myself, but they ended up being for videos for everybody else. And as I would always be under distress, I would always just make a video as a way that was just very therapeutic. And then when the message became bigger than me, in a sense of when people start coming up to me like, yo, like your content really, like it's gotten me out of some dark places. And I'll tell you right now, ain't nothing more weirder, or let me rephrase that, ain't nothing, it's such an honor. It's an honor. It is a weird feeling. I'm not gonna lie, it is a very weird feeling. It's very humbling when someone tells you that your content got them out of a dark place, because I look at them and I was like this. I was in a dark place when I made the content.
Right.
That's crazy. Wow, what a coincidence. You were depressed and I was too. Wow, look at
Wow.
us, And it actually that's happened where somebody pulled me off to the side and they'll pull me off to the side away from everybody and they'll cry and they'll tell me like your content really got me through a dark space in my life. And I'm like, dog, like I was in a dark space when I made that episode. I was in a dark space when I made that video. I was
Mm.
in a dark space when you probably were watching it. So to see that me navigating through the trenches of military service has helped you get through yours, it's very humbling. It's very, I appreciate it. I still feel weird, but at the exact same time, it's one of the driving factors behind a lot of what I do now, because I know that if I'm feeling it, somebody somewhere in some platoon, company, or battalion is definitely feeling it too. Somebody at home's probably feeling it. Some veterans definitely feeling it. Somebody is probably going through what I'm going through. And if I don't say it, somebody else better.
That is, I'm gonna take it a step further. There's about 8.5 billion humans on Earth, and I believe at least a quarter of them probably feeling it, Demetrius. But wonderful message. If you guys didn't get some of the points, I'll let you know real fast. It's a choice to keep going. Don't let your emotions paralyze you in following things that are meaningful to you. Number two, you guys heard it. If you're doing anything, it starts with you.
Mhm.
How can you motivate and inspire other people when you're not even motivating yourself? And well said, my friend. And last but not least, I'm gonna give you another compliment because I'm gonna mess with you as your big brother, as a veteran. I love what you're doing. I am one of your fans, my friend, and just keep doing it because you inspire Mario P. Fields as well. And if you ever need anything, man, you hit me up. You got my number. You know where I'm at, and keep doing great things out there on recruiting. All right.
100%. Thank you so much, sir.
No, thank you so much. Well, everybody, I gotta let them go because I will stay on this thing with Meech Speaks for a long time because he motivates the hell out of me. But you guys know the deal. Another episode coming up in a week or two, depending on how I drop it, publish it, and that's on YouTube or audio. Well, you guys know I signed off. I will pray that God continues to bless you, the listeners and viewers, your family and friends, and anyone else around you. Guys, be safe.